Welcome back. Today is the 1st of March 2019, and this is A Few Minutes in Voice. I'm your host, Nick, and as always, I will be sharing the latest news in voice development, reviewing an Alexa skill, and sharing some pointers for expanding your brand with voice. Okay, so the skill that I reviewed this week was called Escape the Red Planet. I really like this skill because not only did it kind of paint a pretty good picture as far as the story goes, it's 2048 and Earth is uninhabitable, so you got to go to Mars, and a windstorm comes and you have to get out of this base. The use of sound effects, the use of the speech cons, really set the tone for this and really put you inside of the story. So it was really good. I really enjoyed the flow of the story, and I enjoyed the decision making procedures, but also I enjoyed how they gave you hints for some of the stuff. Like you had to come up with whatever the answer was in order to move forward. So that was kind of cool, and I really thought it was decent, and I am going to be giving it a 4 out of 5 star review on the Skill Store. So if you want to read that, you can pop over there, and I will have it linked up in the episode description below. So one of the things I wanted to talk about on the developer front is the Alexa presentation language. I was very skeptical at first about the APL. Half the time I didn't even pronounce it right. I was saying PLA, AP, APY, whatever. But the presentation language does open you up to an array of options as far as designing for voice and designing for things that have a screen. So you can use Alexa presentation language for the Spot, both shows, and a big screen TV. But the problem that I have with the Spot is that the screen's too small. You're looking at 2 inches, right? So if you went ahead and you designed anything, you really had to get into the nitty-gritty of it. So I wasn't too sold on that, but where I was sold was for the shows and designing for the televisions. It's simply JSON. Now, I'm a decent developer. Like if I had to rate myself, I'd give myself a 4.5 out of 10. Maybe that's just me being humble. But with that being said, the template that is inside of the developer console, if you go down, you'll see something that says like display and in beta. You can actually create templates and see what they'll look like prior to. And that's really cool because it kind of gives you an idea of what you're working with before you actually, take the code and throw it into your Lambda function or whatnot. And you can also export it as well. But the thing that I found that I didn't like about it was it just seemed a little bit too cumbersome. Like if you were past the point of being a novice like myself, you could get lost in this little tool. So what I did was I went online and I found an article through the developer blog, and I will link the article up. But this individual created a skill called Sauce Boss. And Sauce Boss is about all these other different sauces and whatnot. But as you start breaking down the Alexa presentation language that this individual used, you start, and his first name's Franklin, and you start thinking to yourself like, oh, okay, I could do this. This isn't bad. I went ahead and I tried to recreate it, and I was very successful in recreating the Alexa presentation language to fit the needs of about 3 skills that I currently have in certification. So I was pretty pleased with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually link up his developer blog article in the episode description as well, because I think it's going to help the community out as far as seeing how to use the Alexa presentation language. Now, the one thing I was very disappointed about is the fact that I recently got a FireCube TV, and I designed a skill that was strictly APL. And what do you think happened whenever I was like, hey, open blah, blah, blah? an error message came up and said, this device does not support APL. And I thought to myself, like, how is this even possible? It's one of your machines. It's the better streaming box. It's not a Fire Stick. It should at least, do that. But it doesn't. So hopefully they will move to integrate APL through the Fire TV Sticks and the Fire TV Cube, and it just not be something that is thrown into actual Alexa-enabled televisions. That was my only complaint about that. But the presentation language is pretty cool, and you definitely got to give it a shot if you're planning on developing for voice, but also developing an immersive experience that is also visually pleasing and auditory pleasing as well, too. So to close this one out real quick, I just wanted to say that this podcast is sponsored by Voice Skills Inc., which used to be Button Push Apps, which is out of San Antonio, Texas. If there's anybody in the community that has any questions or anything, or would like to develop skills or need someone to bounce ideas off of, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information will be linked up in the episode description as always. Also, I just want to say thanks to everybody out there who is listening, and if you could, please pass this on, and also check out our flash briefing, A Few Minutes in Voice, which is now published in all 5 major English-speaking regions. So if you could go ahead, download, enable that, and make us part of your flash briefing routine. Thanks again, and have a great night.